Among the responsibilities of our traffic unit is the investigation of serious and fatal traffic crashes. Motorcyclists are too often the victims of these crashes, many of which could have been avoided.
Our goal here is to help prevent some of these tragic crashes by helping motorcyclists and other motorists understand and avoid some of the common hazards we face. Greater driver awareness combined with improvements to our own riding habits and skills can minimize the threats we face in our highways.
In this episode in our traffic safety video series, we plan to identify and discuss a few of the most common factors in motorcycle crashes. We will also offer some safety-conscious suggestions you might find helpful in your goal to be safer riders. This episode includes a recent update to Illinois law which pertains to motorcyclists. In this dramatization, we see one of the most common and devastating threats motorcyclists face: the motorist waiting to turn left in front of us as we approach an intersection. These and similar threats are very real, and only worsened by the fact many drivers out there are impatient and distracted. Drivers involved in these crashes often report they either misjudged the speed of the approaching motorcycle, or they failed to see it at all. As stated earlier, motorists involved in crashes with motorcycles often report they saw the motorcycle prior to the crash, but they thought it was either further away or traveling at a slower speed than it actually was. The fact is, our eyes are not very good at judging closing speeds of small, narrow objects like motorcycles, especially when they are relatively far away. This split-screen clip attempts to illustrate this. The motorcycle on the left is traveling towards the camera at 30 miles per hour. The one on the right is approaching at 50 miles per hour. Most observers have a difficult time judging the difference in their speeds until they are closer to the camera. Often by the time the motorist realizes the great speed of the approaching motorcycle, it is too late, because they have already committed to pulling out in front of it. At least 3 lessons can be learned from this example. First, we all need to take an extra couple seconds to attempt to judge the speed of approaching motorcycles before encroaching on their path. Second, as motorcyclists, we need to be aware that motorists may misjudge our speeds and take defensive measures with this in mind. And third, we need to recognize that as we increase our speeds, we sacrifice the precious time we need to complete crash avoidance maneuvers. In this example, the rider gave up approximately 6 seconds of life-saving response time when he was traveling 20 miles per hour faster. Imagine this is the view of a driver waiting to make a left turn at this intersection. Because of poor lane position and short following distance, the approaching motorcycle is virtually invisible until it is very close to the intersection. An impatient or distracted driver may have already committed to a left turn before realizing the motorcycle was directly behind the pickup truck. Here, the motorcyclist vastly improves his visibility simply by adjusting his lane position and lengthening his following distance. So, what's the safest lane position to ride in? The answer is there isn't one static position that is always the best place to be. The best lane position to ride in at any given time is the one which provides the rider the best view of potential hazards, the best visibility to other motorists, and has at least one emergency escape route. Sometimes the best, or the only way, to avoid a crash is by bringing your motorcycle to a stop as quickly as possible. Most motorcycles have independent brakes, which means the rider controls the front and rear brakes individually. The rider determines which brake gets applied, as well as the amount of force applied to each one. A motorcycle's stopping distances can vary greatly depending on how the rider actually applies the brakes in an emergency braking situation. The following examples were designed to demonstrate this. In the first demonstration, the motorcyclist will stop using combination braking, properly applying both the front and rear brakes with appropriate force to bring the motorcycle to a short stop without locking either tire. In this second demonstration, the motorcyclist will stop using only the rear brake. In fact, he will apply too much force to the rear brake, causing it to lock and skid the rear tire. The purpose of this demonstration is to illustrate the relative inefficiency of the rear brake by itself and in general. In our example, this motorcycle took a little over 30 additional feet to come to a stop from 30 miles per hour when only the rear brake was applied. Now imagine there is a hazard, such as a stopped car, right around the 70-foot cone. With proper combination braking, stopping before the hazard was no problem. When the rider only used the rear brake, however, a collision would have occurred. Proper braking can turn an imminent crash situation into merely a close call. Motorcyclists need to remain alert and defensive at all times when they are out on the roads, even while stopped at a red light. Many riders take these opportunities to put their motorcycle into neutral and release the clutch while they wait for the light to change. Safety-conscious riders remain alert and ready to escape hazards even while stopped. They continually check their mirrors and scan for hazards with an escape route planned in the event they need to move out of the intersection quickly to avoid being struck. In order to save critical seconds in one of these emergencies, it may prove helpful to leave your motorcycle in first gear and keep your right foot on the rear brake pedal to shine some brighter light rearward to get the attention of approaching traffic. In this demonstration, our rider was instructed to be prepared to make a quick escape from the stop position once given a go signal. Once he hears the signal, he will attempt to make a quick escape by making a right turn. The rider on the left has his motorcycle in gear, ready to move. The rider on the right is also ready to go, but will have to put his motorcycle into gear once he hears the signal. Even with an escape plan in mind and actively listening for the signal, it still took our rider about 2 additional seconds for him to pull in the clutch lever, put the transmission into first gear, then accelerate the motorcycle out of the intersection. These 2 seconds can prove critical in avoiding an impact. For example, a vehicle approaching the stopped rider from behind at a constant 35 miles per hour would cover a little over 100 feet during those 2 seconds.
We've all been there. You're stopped at a red traffic signal which fails to change for your motorcycle due to its small size or lightweight. The Illinois legislature have recently addressed this concern with an update to the Illinois Vehicle Code. Now, motorcyclists may proceed through red lights which fail to change for motorcycles. However, as you may expect, there are restrictions to the law. The rider must wait at the signal for at least 120 seconds before proceeding. Once the rider decides to go, he essentially treats the red signal like a stop sign. This means the rider must yield to all approaching traffic before proceeding. This law specifically excludes Illinois cities with a population over 2 million.